tag-init.
El Niño is a climate event which is marked by rising of temperature in our Pacific Ocean in the eastern and central ocean part of Pacific.
For me, El Nino is a very destructive climatic condition wherein meron some prolonged drought na nag-a-affect especially sa mga farmers natin. No? So, it's very hard kung sa panahon sa El Nino. Plus, ang mga health na problems na dala sa extreme heat is hindi gyapon joke. So, makato para sa akin ng El Nino.
El Nino is
On El Nino alert.
El Nino's
El Nino is
El Nino what?
Naabot na raw natin ang peak o sukdulan ng El Nino pero hindi pa tapos ang epekto niyan.
El Niño.
El Niño were observed as early the 1600s. In 1920, a British scientist, Sir Gilbert Walker, identified notable climate anomalous changes in atmospheric pressure and happen around the world every few years. El Niño is a natural event in the equatorial region, which causes temporary changes in the world climate. Fishermen off the west coast of South America were the first to notice appearances of unusually warm water that occurred at year's end. The phenomenon became known as El Niño because of its tendency to occur around Christmas time. El Niño is Spanish for the boy child and is named after the baby Jesus. ENSO is the El Niño Southern Oscillation, the name scientists use for what is often called El Niño. The Southern Oscillation is a seesaw shift in surface air pressure between the eastern and western halves of the Pacific. When pressure rises in the east, it falls in the west, and vice versa. In the 1950s, scientists realized that El Niño and the Southern Oscillation were parts of the same event. In normal conditions, trade winds blow in a westerly direction along the equator. These winds pile up warm surface water in the western Pacific, so the sea surface is as much as 18 inches higher in the western Pacific than in the eastern Pacific. These trade winds are one of the main sources of fuel for the Humboldt Current. The Humboldt Current is a cold ocean current which flows north along the coasts of Chile and Peru, then turns west and warms as it moves out into the central Pacific. So, the normal situation is warmer water in the western Pacific, cooler in the eastern. In an El Niño, the equatorial westerly winds diminish. As a result, the Humboldt Current weakens, and this allows the waters along the coast of Chile and Peru to warm and creates warmer than usual conditions along the coast of South America. As far as known, other forces, such as volcanic eruptions, submarine or terrestrial, and sunspots, do not cause El Niños.
How long El Nino last?
Approximately every 2 to 7 years, effects can be felt continually around the globe for more than a year, though that is generally not the case in one place.
What effect does El Nino have on world climate?
Strong El Nino events are frequently linked to warm, rainy and flooding conditions in Peru, drought in Indonesia, wild winter in the northeast, and fewer hurricanes in the southeast. Although there is no guarantee that this effect will occur, an El Nino increases likelihood of this condition.
How can we predict El Nino?
In a tropical Pacific Ocean, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration operates a network of buoys that measure temperature, current, and winds in an equatorial band. The collected data are evaluated by complex computer models designed to predict an El Nino. Even these complex models, however, cannot predict the exact intensity or duration of an El Nino, nor can they predict how areas will be affected.
Summary.
El Nino is a warm phase of international climate oscillation called El Nino Southern Oscillation or ENSO event, an example of a large-scale oceanic atmosphere interaction, and is characterized by the large-scale warming of the surface tropical Pacific Ocean. El Niño events occur every 3 to 6 years, last 9 to 12 months, sometimes even up to 18 months, and have a big impact of the world weather. The major impact of El Niño are temperature anomalies, change in precipitation variability, flood, drought throughout the world. El Niño events happen irregularly and hard to predict. However, many numerical climate models predict the last few El Niño events successfully. El Niño forecasting is becoming more and more reliable with our improving knowledge of the phenomenon's nature. With the help of more and more powerful computers and the operational El Niño Southern Oscillation Observation System, El Niño forecasting is especially important for tropical countries where El Niño's impact are the strongest.